Institute for Dalian Northeast Asia International Shipping Center. His research interests include green shipping management, maritime big data, and so on. He has presided over 2 national scientific research programs and more than 10 ministerial and professional programs. He has published more than 10 papers as the first or corresponding author in FMS high-quality journals, such as Transportation Research Part B. He has won 9 awards, including the Science and Technology Award of China Federation of Logistics and Procurement, and the Science and Technology Progress Award of China Transportation Association. He has been selected as the high-level talent in Dalian and the third-level talent in the Xinghai project of Dalian Maritime University. And today, his speech, the title is Technology Transition and Operation Management for Low Carbon Shipping. Now let's welcome Prof. Welcome Prof. Zhao.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction for me. And I'm Yuzhe Zhao. Could I start it?
Okay.
Is the sound and the slide available?
Yes, okay. We can see it.
Okay, let's start it. It's my great honor to give today's lectures to you. And the topic of the today's lecture is technology transition and operation management for low carbon shipping. Whether it is when we talk to the transportation, like comprehensive transportation, multimodal transportation, green ports, green shipping, and so on. And we can see that no matter in which matters, there's a common element, shipping. So I hope through this lecture, I can explain some basic and advanced information about shipping for you. Our report today will conclude 3 contents. The first part is the carbon emission reduction in shipping industry is imperative. And the second part is the technology transition, that is green ships, which carry the future development trend of the main means of transport in the shipping industry. Dalian Maritime University is a research institution and a university with research advantage in maritime and shipping industry. Therefore, this part focuses on how to make ships green and low carbon in the future. And the third part is the introduction of the enterprise operation management and the operation for the carbon management strategy. First of all, the shipping industry is very important. Among the consumption, trade, infrastructure, investment, and other factors driving the national economic growth and development, trade is very important, especially in the process of the globalization. Today, we can use some foreign goods and time in our life. And many of our products can be sent to the world anytime. Many materials in our lives, including products, activities, are in a global production system. In the process of the globalization, a large part of the operation of these goods and resources is maintained by the shipping industry. Because the large carrying capacity of the ship itself, as well as the geographical pattern of the world, trade and the distribution of the production systems among countries, the shipping industry plays an important role in it, which carries 80% of the world's trade volume. However, we all know that the environmental problems in recent years are very serious, especially the rising temperature and the climate warming, which have a great impact on the regional economy and the natural environment. Now, an important indicator of climate change is carbon dioxide emissions. In 2021, the carbon emissions of the shipping industry reached 833 million tons. As the shipping industry operates in the global system, it is difficult for countries to reduce emissions uniformly. So carbon emissions are not particularly easy to eliminate. At present, the carbon emission is similar to that of Japan's national production, probably ranking 8th. It can be seen that, according to the ranking of the national carbon dioxide, China is currently the first, and the amount is particularly large. In the future, China's emission pressure will be very great. With the reform and opening up, China's economy continues to grow, especially after our export and oriented economy started to develop. Our country cannot be strong without a strong production system, and the ensuing environmental pollution needs special attention, which is why China has proposed a dual carbon strategy of carbon peaking and carbon neutralization in 2030 and 2060, respectively. It is an important commitment that reflects the responsibility of a major country. The process of global trade integration is very fast. Although the carbon emissions of the shipping industry accounts 2%, if we don't take any measures to change it, it may reach a higher proportion in the future. The volume of the international shipping trade continues to grow. How did the basic for the calculation come from? Global economic growth cannot be separated from trade, which is the most important driving factor. Today, with the continuous progress of the globalization, no country can divorce themselves from the masses and from the reality. Since the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the United States and Europe have announced devastating sanctions against Russia. The Russian economy and the world financial market, energy, food, and other supply chains have suffered serious shocks, and the world economy is in shock. With the outbreak of the COVID-19 and the geopolitical tensions, global supply chains are constantly adjusting, and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has brought new shocks to the global supply chains. The role played by many countries is not unique in the supply chain. Take the shipping industry as an example. In 2020, China's seaborne imports and export trade volume has accounted for 30% of the global total, of which seaborne import trade volume accounted for 25%. It can be seen that China is both importer and an exporter in shipping industry. The proportion of imports is larger. Therefore, China's proposal of speed up the construction of new development pattern with domestic big circle as the main body, and the domestic and industrial circles is very important. We can do some simple calculations. If the economy grows, the trade volumes must rise. Therefore, we can deduce some specific analysis like this. There are some temporary negative growth in the future, such as the financial crisis in 2008 and epidemic in the 2019, and the whole global system has adapted to the epidemic and gradually recovered to the normal. Although the overall trade growth is decreasing from high growth to slow growth, its growth trend remains unchanged. It means that the number of the fleets needs to increase continuously. The trade volume is increasing. The fleet is increasing, and the emissions are also increasing. So let's briefly introduce the fleet. The shipping carries these trade volumes is supported by a large number of carriers, and such as the distribution of various goods in the different cities we are familiar with, including bulk commodities, petroleum, chemicals, and dry goods. We can see that there are many ship types at present. According to the important production in materials and consumer goods in the world, the ship types are mainly as follows. Oil tankers, containers are used to transport various goods such as daily necessities, and there are many kinds of containers. We can carry many products, including automobiles, various parts, and mechanical products. Bulk carriers, meaning carrying basic production materials and materials such as iron ore and coal, chemical ships, transporting LNG, and so on. There are other types of ships, such as passenger ships, such as Persian ships, Dalian Yantai ferry, which is a road with a lot of passengers to flow, as well as Hainan, Guangdong Strait, and some connections on the Yangtze River. In addition to meeting people's basic transportation needs, there are also some sightseeing ships. There are also port tugs and offshore ships, and final ro-ro ship is a general purpose ship which can carry a variety of goods. It has many layers. It is a very nickel ship, and but it is very flexible and convenient in our shipping operation mode. From the description of the ship, we can find that when we understand ship, we need to know the volume of trade, what the trade goods are, what countries the goods operate in. The means of the trade used in different situations are different. Through these understandings, we can understand the basic elements of the whole shipping clearly. From the International Seaborne Carbon Ton nautical mile from the 2001 to 2021, we can see how much the production of this sector is. Over the years, the total volume has been growing, and it is declined slightly in 2008 and 2009, in 2019 and in 2020. In addition, we can see some transportation proportions. First of all, the bulk cargo is right, accounting for more than half the total. So the shipping industry undertakes a large amount of transportation of raw materials. The second is container transportation. The types of goods transported in containers are complex, and some goods are of high value. In order to meet the continuous growth of the total trade of the 10 nautical mile of international seaborne cargo in recent years, the fleet size needs to be continuously increased. In recent years, although the proportion of the ship orders has declined partly, as a whole, it has always maintained a growth trend and declined in different product categories. Why has the orders declined over the years? Because the carbon emissions requirements have become very high on the energy requirements of the ship. It is not a reasonable choice to order a large number of traditional ships now, which may be scrapped in the future. Therefore, over the years, there have been some traditional ship companies on the sidelines, and there are also trying to book some new energy ships because a lot of mandatory policies and restrictions were introduced in the beginning of 2015 and 2020. And first of all, from the left side, we can see that the growth trend of the ship types is that the total volume is still growing, increased by 3% a year. And just now it was predicted according to a proportion of cargo throughout about 2.4%. But in 2021, the proportion will be more than 3%, and they are not exactly equal. In addition, we can see the emissions of different ship types from the perspective of emissions. The overall situation is that total amount is rising. There will be differences in the proportion of emissions between months. In February, May, and June, and festivals emissions are generally low. This kind of industry emissions not only involves these ships, but also many fishing vessels with large emissions in the global industry. However, in many industries, there is no examinations and analysis of fishing vessels. The emission will produce a lot of pollutants. In fact, the earliest pollution is ship's blast and water pollution, which will produce red out pollution when entering the shore or some oil leakage. The earliest emergence is the water discharge or regulation. More attention are paid to the air pollution after 2010. A ship of more than 2,000 ships, the emission of a ship is more than 2,000 tons, means equivalent to about 3,000 cars. Because the ship burns heavy oil, it mainly emits harmful gases such as sulfur oxides, nitrogen oxides, as well as the greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide. These pollutants will lead to the persecutions of the health and some people, especially those in coastal port cities. China has paid special attention to the port development in recent years. In the global ranking of the various port throughput indicators, China accounts for 7 of the world's top 10 ports, and more than 20 of the world's top 50 ports. Therefore, the port is very busy, and ship will be more docked, which will cause more pollution in the coastal area. Many scientists have measured and researched prime material dyes of indults in directly causes cardiovascular disease and lung cancer and asthma in children. The number of deaths can be estimated through the long-term calculations, and it can be seen in the Asia. The Asia has a relative high proportion, and China has the largest proportion in Asia. After all, China has a large population and the most densely populated coastal areas. Therefore, the most densely populated people live in the most polluted places in the world. As an international maritime organization established for the shipping industry, IMO needs to propose some corresponding indicators and policies to supervise the shipping industry. A few years ago, it assumed many indicators on ship manufacture. For example, IMO first proposed the indicators related to ship safety, and then paid attention to the environmental problems caused by ship pollution. In terms environment, IMO starts from the blast water pollution. Up to now, IMO is the most concerned about the air pollution, air emissions from ships. It can be seen from the figure and sulfur and nitrogen emission and limitations have proposed since 2000. After the 2 key years of the control requirements of both sulfur and nitrogen emissions from shipping remain basically unchanged, and the 2 key notes of 2005 and 2020 are also mandatory requirements. Because of the requirement, we can see that some ship owners will deal with the traditional ships in 2020. Because we all know that if we want to reduce emissions, we need to invest more capital in the original ship, such as investing some technology and equipment to help it meet the emission requirements. So the capital will increase, resulting in some economic impact. The companies or the enterprises are all profit seeking, so they will want to meet the emission requirements. Some companies or enterprises choose to wait and see, while others have done something, such as some companies have ordered some new energy ships. In addition, with regard to nitrogen emissions are completely targeted at the engine itself, and specific standards are required for the engine. Besides, what is the IMO's understanding of the carbon? In 2005, 2006, and 2018 and 2020, some meetings were organized and held, at which experts discussed and especially proposed a medium and long-term goal. The target year is 2050. By the 2030, all existing ships must meet the basic requirements, similar to some government policies. For example, after the cars are purchased by the consumers, it will be exempted from the inspection within 6 years. But after that, annual inspection needs to be carried out every year. If it meets this standard, it will issue to you an annual inspection certificate. If it fails to meet the standard, it will need to go back to the repair or refit. At the same time, the goal is to ensure that the carbon emissions of the entire shipping industry will be reduced by 40% by the 2030 compared with the 2008, and by 50% by 2050. We can see that IMO attaches a great importance to the emission of pollutants and has made some policies and regulations on sulfur, nitrogen, and carbon respectively. From the chart, we can see that how the IMO has continued the process of UNFCCC's goal, a formulation of its own industry standards. As we all know, UNFCCC is an organization that focuses on the environmental problems. So the policies that IMO continues to issue that are related to environmental and climate change, such as the EEDI, issued in 2011. EEDI is about new ship manufacturing, and SEMP is about ship operation. The DCS is about the monitoring of the ship fuel consumption. EEXI is about the energy emission index of the existing ships, and the CII is about the emission index of the existing ships. IMO puts forward these goals to achieve, but they need to think about how many industrial standards, as well as how to driven the technical standards and how to promote various stakeholders in the industry, such as ship owners, operators, ship companies, to constantly develop in the direction of the carbon reduction and decarbonization and constraint in the process. This is similar to the requirements for vehicle emissions in cities. Some vehicles may not allow to operate in large and medium-sized cities because they do not meet the standards. In fact, there are also some standards which can be understood in this way. To sum up, the demand for maritime transportation driven by trade volume is constantly increasing, and ships also need to continue to increase. When ships are in operation, there will be a lot of corresponding environmental pollution. which will cause some changes in our current overall ecological environment, which will affect human health, the reduction of the overall biodiversity, climate change, and so on. As IMO needs to take some measures. In fact, IMO is more from the prospects of government policy control. Other scientists in the industry and many people in the academic has also noticed it, and they are also do some research. Of course, relevant companies have also noticed it. They need to consider the issue and make some corresponding changes with the guidance of the government policies and to promote emission reduction of the industry. In fact, there are many kinds of research on this issue. Today, I will mainly explain from two aspects. One is from the perspectives of the technology. The other is from the perspective of the shipping company's operation. Let's look the part 2. As for the technical transition of green ships, I will mainly explain it in several parts. And all of them needs to analyze the around ships. First of all, from the ship perspective, I will first propose EEDI. EE means energy efficiency. D means design. I means index, which means energy efficiency design index. And EEOI was introduced later, which is about the ship operation, but it's not about the ship side. EXI is aimed to the exciting ships, and it can be seen from the formula is very similar. And the formulas here basically follow a similar idea. The denominator part of the formula is the approximate carrying capacity of the ship. That is how much cargo the ship can run. And the numerator part of the formula is emission. And energy consumption is the amount of the emission, the energy consumed by per ton of nautical mile of ship operation. Of course, the lower the number, the cleaner it will be. For the new ships, we use EEDI indicators, and for the exciting ships, we use EXI. And we can use this mode to improve the energy efficiency of all current fleets, that is ships in operation. One way is to limit its shaft power and speed limit. Of course, slowing down, slow steaming is a good thing. It is good for the environment, and the downside that you can't plan the ship's voyage and the transportation plan better. And in addition, sometimes there are the cases of goose grabbing and goose testing, and they are all fast freights. The situation occurs not only in the ship industry, but also in Euro public transport, goods distribution, and logistics. And ship companies all know that slowing down slow steaming is a good thing and can reduce emissions, but it may not be good for its profit. So, which is a conflicting problem. In addition, how to improve the characteristics of the exciting ships. And another way is to use alternative fuels, which is the future oriented technology, and we will talk it about later. And in the process of the new ship building, many problems such as how optimization and alternative fuels need to be addressed. This is a problem of fleet planning. What to do the exciting ships, new ships, and old ships need to be scrapped. The purpose of purchase of new ships require a lot of money, and in many cases, the balance of the capital flow is very important for companies. There is a problem rule for EDI and EXI, which is used in constraint for the issuing certificate. The ship can continue to operate when it meets the restrictions, and a certificate will be issued to you. If it doesn't meet the restrictions, it needs to be checked and modified, and can continue to operate only when it meets the requirements again. That's why I said just now that many traditional ship owners will still waiting to see if they operate in this way. How to regulate a problem, but it's not very easy to manage global issues. From the perspective of emission, we can see another problem. The ship itself is fixed, so we all know if the exciting ships cannot obtain the IEE or C22 certificates, they need to be refit. Ships will produce emissions. Add a scrubber or to the ships will to reduce the sulfur dioxide of emission. For example, of cars produce exhausts, installed a sulfur and nitrogen removal devices at the emission end of the car. You can see that several technologies for sulfur and nitrogen removal are very mature. The other thing is that the point side, similar to the computer, the whole host is turned off and no longer burns fuel. When a ship is docked at port, it has many other states in its life cycle besides sailing. The working state of the ships is divided into operation and berthing. The operation is divided into navigation, anchoring, berthing. So in the process of the berthing, the shore power can be used to remove the pollutions such as sulfur, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. So far, the CCUS, the carbon capture, utilization, and storage technology can be used on the ship for the carbon treatment. In fact, this technology emerged with the introduction of the carbon decarbonization strategy. During this period, the industry, manufacturing, and academic are all studying these problems, and the problems is still very immaterial of the CCUS. So I think it's not very mature in this period. And we have do some work, and the first work is I would like some research about we have done. The first is we have made some analysis on sulfur, nitrogen, and carbon, which will be explained briefly. First, we mainly focus on the analysis of sulfur. In fact, there are only a few methods to deal with sulfur generated by in the exciting shapes. For example, scrubber I just mentioned, as shown in the figure, can absorb some scrubber, can absorb the sulfur treated and discharged after the exhaust gas. Another is to install the corresponding compliant bulk fuel, and as a clean energy, LNG is considered. So we have checked the three methods, and from the perspective of the operating company, how to complete ship's original workload and to update the fleet. So how to choose what kind of the technology. Through our analysis, the large capacity ships started to arrange LNG as early as possible, and all types of the ships on the CPNW and the OPNW routes will choose to operate in the low speed, slow steaming. And in terms of the scrubber, from now to the middle future of the 2025, its economic advance in the entire environment, investment and operation will be not very obvious. This is the result of our own calculations and analysis of some selected backgrounds. And secondly, it is about the nutrition. We need to check. We need to check areas of the limit nutrition emissions. What kind of measurement method should we use? What technology would be better to choose? We also selected different case methods, and in some cases, if the control area accounts for a large proportion, more nutrition removal is required. And while it's in some cases, if the control areas account for a small proportion, and all the others will within the control areas, nutrition removal devices must be installed. And the specific situation is related to the specific operation scenario. Here we have selected 6 different scenarios and 8 technology combinations to calculate. Through the calculation, it can be conducted to the relative economical and stable technology is installed only the EGR or install an open loop scrubber and EGR. Namely, so our calculations are more in line with the actual shipping situation. So we hope that our research will really promote the industry and help the industry to make a worse and in this direction. So this paper was published in the early 2000s and 2021. And except for the shape and the emission perspective, we can talk this from the fuel perspective. So we analyze from the perspective of alternative fuels and power plants and respectively. There are many types of power plants, including the traditional fuel consumption of the internal combustion engines, batteries, as well as some nuclear power plants, and some power plants that do not require fuel consumption. Ships with different power plants need different fuels to match. So the choice of alternative fuel is influenced by many factors such as the capital cost, global supply distribution, propulsion process, maturity, storage, and so on. Compared with the traditional energy, the distribution density of many new energy sources is not large. To travel the same distance as conventional ships, new energy ships need to store a lot of energy. So which can cause a lot of volume, and especially for the marine transport for the short distance, the economic damage degree is very greater. So for the promotion of alternative energy, there are still many problems to be solved in the future, and main uncertainty lies in the propulsion process and the production and the supply layout of the alternative fuels. For the mid and long-term shipping carbon reduction goal, the fundamental solution is to apply the technology convention of the alternative fuel and corresponding power plant. However, there are compatibility problems in the transition applications between different technology combinations. For example, the alternative fuel and power plant of a Panama bulk carrier can be changed from a single fuel engine to a dual fuel engine. First equipped with LNG and MGO dual fuel engine to make technological transition, and then can switch to the cleaner energies such as ammonia, hydrogen, and methanol, and continually transform to in the cleaner shapes. So we have do some research works about it. So on this basis of the research paper, technology transition of liner shipping shapes and the carbon emissions, reduction targets is formed. And this paper analyzes all kinds of the fuels. The effect of the dual fuel engine with alternative fuels on the shipping emission reduction was examined, and for the liner transportation. The problem to be solved is completed based on the scenario experiments. Considering the impact of the carbon emission reduction targets, alternative fuel prices, and the degree of the technical promotion, with the help of the established and used framework, the roadmap of technology transition and carbon emission reduction targets is demonstrated, and time-related countermeasures of the ship operators and the two modes of short sea and the deep sea are proposed, and the relative rationality of different carbon emission reduction targets and their economic and environmental impacts are evaluated. Finally, the technology transition path of the own fleet is proposed. There's a pattern in the journey to 2050. And fossil fuels. Material fossil fuels will still play a leading role in the short term. And when facing the carbon emission reduction targets of shipping in the medium and the long term, ammonia fuel is an important transitional fuel, and the hydrogen fuel may become the ultimate solution. Methanol is not very promising because it is low cost effectiveness. At the same time, ship transformation will be the main way of the technology transition because the longer life cycle risk of the capital-intensive ships. China Society has proposed an technology transition roadmap for the 2000. A series of processes, including the technology development, pilot, demonstration, promotion, and commercial application. We are still in the early stage of the technical concept development, and most zero carbon and low carbon fuels will be commercially available by around 2030. For technical energy efficiency and operational energy efficiency, especially the operational energy efficiency, needs to maintain for a long time. So let's look the third part. The ship emission reduction measures and the IMO framework include the technical measures and the operational measures and market measures. And the technical aspects have been discussed above. On the market level, carbon market management measures do not directly reduce energy supply from the source, but use an incentive means to generate a regulatory mechanism to reduce the carbon emissions. So let's focus on the operational side perspective. And in terms of the operations, so we need to focus on the ship energy efficiency operating index, the EOI, and ship energy efficiency management program, SEEMP, and the fuel consumption data collection system, DCS, and operation carbon intensity rate mechanism, CII rating. So these measures is very important. And at the operational level, it is necessary to combine the fleet operations to obtain carbon dioxide emissions data through the monitoring system, and then judge whether the final goal is achieved according to the carbon dioxide emission limits and the specific transportation measures. If not, the carbon management measures need to optimize. The carbon management measures include fleet management, continuous operations, the goals, and the route optimization, improved voyage planning, speed adjustment to reduce pressure time, and the optimal speed and reduce drag, hull optimization, fuel type, and battery management. To sum up, it can be seen that the problem in the operational level is essentially the operation strategy of the shipping company. So here are two main strategies. The first is slow steaming, which is an operational measure that has a significant impact on reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the relative short period. It is estimated that slow steaming reduced the shipping industry total carbon dioxide emissions in 2015 by reducing the carbon intensity of the shipping by 30% compared to the 2008 levels. MSI simulated the impact of the reducing the average speed by 1 and 2 knots on the required cargo carrying capacity in each sector. If the supply side remains same, an increase in required cargo capacity will lead to a surge in vessel utilization and earnings, followed by the increase in new building requirements to bring utilization back to the MSI base case. About just-in-time, and the second is about just-in-time shipping. The AAS data can be used to grasp the detailed information of the shipping. The analysis of ship location, berth availability, and other data can reveal the essence just-in-time shipping and save fuel consumption by improving voyage planning and optimize port services to bring commercial and environmental benefits. MSI modeled the potential effects of the just-in-time shipping by assuming average 5% reduction in speed, assuming no effect to cargo carrying capacity, and without adjusting the size of the fleet. Based on the base analysis, carbon dioxide emissions will be reduced by the 10 to 11% per year. So from this direction, we have do some research work, and we focus on the joint planning for the fuel switching shapes in liner shaping from the operational measures to reduce some of the emissions of the ships. So at present, for the ship companies, it is necessary to do fleet planning, fleet operation, ship scheduling, and other studies. So fuel switching and is the most material and reliable and measures for the ship operators to comply with the ECA regulations. So and we focus on how the liner ship companies adopt the fuel switching in the particular transport services. And this paper established a new MINP model which aims to realize the flexible design of inner transportation service network based on the optimization of the integrated decision making of ship deployment, ship schedule design, and speed optimization. So finally, through the experiments, we have get some results. The best operation scheme is a small adjustment of the existing network operation decisions, and we have get another some results like for the transport operation may incur penalty cost. So this one is very important. The effect is should be addressed, and through our optimization strategy, we can save some operations cost. So this is my report. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for Prof. Zhao for the excellent speech. In this report, Prof. Zhao has discussed the research and development progress and application prospect of promoting ship emission reduction technology and ship prevention pollution technology. I believe both the students and the teachers have benefited much from it. Due to time limits, we can discuss with Prof. Zhao by email. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I shall end here by thank you for coming to the third part of the Carbon Neutralization and Green Shipping Forum. Thank you. Let's see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
See you, all of you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Reina.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Professor. Very interesting.
Okay, let's see tomorrow.
Yep, I see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
See you, Mingfei. Thank you.
Recording stopped.